be up here tonight to remember Davie and Joy Napier. Two of the finest, most authentic, and inspiring people I've ever known came into my life in the summer of 1966. That summer, Davie and Joy Napier moved from Yale University to Stanford for Davie to be Dean of the Chapel at Stanford Memorial Church. And at the same time, I moved to Stanford to be director of Stanford University YWCA. I remember well the freshman orientation assembly in September 1966. Davie Napier, the new dean of the chapel, was the speaker. Much to the delight of the freshmen, he took his texts, both from the Beatles and from St. Paul. From St. Paul, love is patient and kind, not jealous or boastful. And from the Beatles, remember this was 1966, friends, all the lonely people, where do they all come from? Where do they all belong? Davie affirmed that day, and in so much of his preaching and teaching in future days, that, as the authors of this new book about them quoted, mutual love is indispensable to the flourishing of any human institution, including a university. And that is a quote from Paul Minus and Ann Napier Caffrey's book, To Stop the Weeping, The Prophetic Lives of Davie and Joy Napier. If you don't yet have this book, you can be in touch at a later time with Joyce Yarborough and receive a copy. It is fabulous. Besides Davie's regular preaching on Sunday mornings at Stanford Memorial Church, fondly known at Stanford as Mem Chu, Davie collaborated strongly with all of us who were involved in campus ministry. He also was warmly welcomed by colleagues in the Religious Studies department there, where each year he taught a one-term Old Testament course. He invited us who were part of the Stanford United Ministry to assist in Sunday services very often by reading scripture and offering prayers and being a welcoming group. He opened Mem Chu to all sorts of gatherings. 1966, 67, 68, anti-Vietnam War vigils, forums on major current themes, musical events in that large mosaic and stained glass Romanesque worship space. He and Joy and his staff hosted smaller gatherings for conversation, study, strategizing, prayer, and mentoring in the round room of the chapel where his office was. This became free space. The hospitality offered by Joy and Davie was phenomenal, not only in Memorial Church, but in their gracious home on the Stanford campus. Students, faculty, staff, campus ministers, and friends were always welcome there. Music abounded as Davie played the piano with great finesse while Joy and all of us joined in singing. Lively conversation could always be expected, and the caring of the Napiers, Davie, Joy, and daughter Anne, who of course is here with us tonight, but was, what, a teenager back then, right? That kind of caring and hosting became well known and deeply appreciated. Joy Napier was a gifted artist in many media. She was also a wordsmith and a superb editor of Davie's sermons and other writings. One memorable occasion for which I happened to be present was in a Sunday service at Mem Chu in January of '71. Davie was in the pulpit partway through his superb sermon when suddenly he realized that he had misplaced the last couple of pages of his manuscript. He shuffled the papers a little bit, and then he asked a chapel intern to run into the round room and see, can he find the last couple of pages? When the pages couldn't be found, he looked out at Joy and asked, using a beloved name for her, "Doll, what is my next point?" And from her place in a nearby pew, Joy responded immediately with the next themes of the sermon, and Davie successfully completed his preaching for that Sunday morning. They or a team, friends. Joy clearly was an associate in Davie's work, and together they always manifested a deep and abiding love for one another. They modeled a marriage of complementarity, of joyous and loving partnership.